organization's overall security efforts. I'm Lindsay Martin-Nez with Badge Pass, and today I've got Robbie Jefcoat from Badge Pass with me as well. We couldn't miss an opportunity when both of us were this color coordinated and in the office for us to film something together. So thanks for being here today, Robbie. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do here at Badge Pass?
Yeah, sure thing. So I run the customer success team, and really our main function is to make sure that anybody who interacts with Badge Pass has a successful experience. So whether you're calling in for a support case or need to order a ribbon, anything and everything that relates to reaching out to us, my team handles.
So Robbie's kind of like the conduit between all of our departments here at Badge Pass, and this week he found a very exciting story in the news that related to pretty much everything that we talk about on a daily basis. Why don't you share that story with us?
Oh man, this was funny. So I'm a huge NFL fan, and so I saw this on my Twitter feed, or X feed I guess now, is filled with a lot of NFL stories, and I read this one where it was with Peyton Manning, who has not played for the Broncos since I believe 2016, said in an interview with ESPN, hey, my key fob still works getting in the building. And like they were laughing it off. It's like, oh, maybe they want you to come back or things like that. But to us and to our industry, that's a very real issue. Like it happens not just at NFL facilities. It's funny to see us in that setting, but to see that, hey, this guy who hasn't worked there for almost 10 years now, his card or his fob still works in the building. And it was just really interesting to connect those dots.
It's funny, we talk about this and we call it credential overflow. When we talk about credential overflow, I would say probably daily here at Badge Pass, and it is the #1 security risk that we want to run into anytime we encounter like existing access control installations in the field. And there's really two main causes. One is the one that Robbie just described, when a person like Peyton Manning no longer works with your organization, but they still have an active credential that can get them in the building. I mean, think about it. That's your key.
Yep.
And that's a huge security risk. I would venture to guess that Peyton Manning's probably not a security risk to the Broncos. They may even want him there. But if you translate this to a disgruntled employee or something like that, it's definitely not as positive of a thing if someone still has access years later. And it's so common. So that's the first thing. And then the second one is when lost or stolen badges, which let's face it, that happens. People lose their credentials, aren't automatically deactivated as new ones are provisioned. That will create credential overflow. So essentially that's caused by having more active badges in your system than active card holders. And like I said, we run into it literally nonstop. One of my favorite credential overflow stories of all time, almost everybody here tells the story at some point, was actually a customer account that Robbie personally did a demo for years ago. Why don't you share that story?
Oh yeah, so this was a government facility, and we were doing a presentation. It started off just talking about their ID printer and ID cards, and they were just really, honestly, just looking for an ID printer. They didn't want to look at new software. For sure, they didn't want to talk about access control or anything else that goes along with it. So I got up there and did the presentation, and we called this presentation the Magic Show. It wasn't really magic, didn't wear a top hat or no bunny rabbits or anything like that, but it shows how easy it is to issue a card and have it activated and simultaneously deactivate a lost credential. So during this presentation, I'm sitting here doing this, and I'm using what Lindsay just said, and said, hey, most of our organizations who have a separate photo ID and door access system experience credential overflow. Well, when I'm talking about that, the lady in the back of the room raised her hand, and she said, I run our system, and we don't have that. And I was like, all right, this has not happened to me before in one of these presentations. So I'm like, all right, that's awesome. Like, first off, congratulations, that's a great job. She was like, yeah, I've got this whole system in place, and I run it myself. I was like, great, I'd love to see it. So I finished up the presentation, and she was like, oh yeah, come on, let's go. She took me up to her office. We pulled up her ID system, and she pulled up her record. So again, the lady who runs the system pulled up her record. So she pulled it up, and she had 7 active ID cards herself. I'm not exaggerating, not saying like, oh, like 7. No, it was literally 7. Y'all, she was so embarrassed. She was like, I don't know how this happened. I manage it myself. I'm very diligent with it. Like, I make sure everything's there. And I was like, there's so many ways it can happen. You're on vacation. You forget. You get busy. You get an emergency phone call. It's so easy to have multiple credentials active in one system, which leads to, as we saw in the NFL with Peyton Manning, a security risk. So that is always a beautiful part of what we were able to do, why it's so important to have your ID and door access fully integrated. And because of that, we were able to really help that customer out. So we're able to take on like their photo ID and their door access. We wound up doing a full door takeover to really get them secure, because it was a very important thing to them.
That's awesome. I love that story. happens all the time. Like we told her, we reassured her, like you're not alone in this. Like this is very common, and we would encourage anybody who has disparate systems like that to just go ahead and run a report of all of your currently active employees and compare that to the list of all the active credentials in your access control system. And if they're the same, that's awesome, but you're like a special butterfly out there because there is just not a whole lot of that in the field, unfortunately. So we love helping customers resolve that problem. And again, I think this just speaks to like if you can issue the badge in a more secure way and really streamline your processes, you can set your organization up for just huge security improvements. So thanks for sharing that with us, Robbie.
Yeah, of course.
Well, it was fun having a Badge Pass team member on Badge Banter today, but we hope you'll join us next time as we take you beyond the badge.